Choose life. Choose a job. Choose a career. Choose a family. Choose a fucking big television. Choose washing machines, cars, compact disc players and electrical tin openers. Choose good health, low cholesterol and dental insurance. Choose fixed interest mortgage repayments. Choose a starter home. Choose your friends. Choose leisure wear and matching luggage. Choose a three-piece suite on hire purchase and a range of fucking fabrics. Choose DIY and wondering who the fuck you are on a Sunday morning. Choose sitting on that couch watching mind-numbing, spirit-crushing game shows, stuffing fucking junk food into your mouth. Choose rotting away at the end of it all, pissing your last in a miserable home, nothing more than an embarrassment to the selfish, fucked-up brats that you've spawned to replace yourselves. Choose your future. Choose life. But why would I want to do a thing like that?
Then, throughout the movie, we see the reasons why you would want to do that. Why you would want to choose
Going
life.
straight and choosing life. I'm looking forward to it already. I'm going to be just like you. The job, the family, the fucking big television, the washing machine, the car, the compact disc and electrical tin opener, good health, low cholesterol, dental insurance, mortgage, starter home, leisure wear, luggage, three-piece suite, DIY, game shows, junk food, children, walks in the park, 9 to 5, good at golf, washing the car, choice of sweaters, family Christmas, index pension, tax exemption, clearing the gutters, getting by, looking ahead, the day you die.
What's Choose Life?
Basically, as the guy said in the movie,
Choose Life was a well-meaning slogan from a 1980s anti-drug campaign.
which funny enough the movie resembles that anti-drug campaign. But when one watches the second movie, Trainspotting 2, the slogan lands on a more ironic note. Renton chose life. He did as the advert said, and look where he is as he laughs to the mention of it.
Choose Life, Veronica.
He acknowledges its good intentions, but I think he realizes that the counterpart to his former life was not all that greater than he thought it would be, or the anti-drug campaign made it out to be. And as the movie goes on, we get to see that, and the duality in the before and after is so great showcased in my opinion. The second movie changes the outlook on the first one, initially seeing the movie as a great "don't do drug kids," or your life will be this miserable. Then you watch the second movie and think, maybe their life wasn't that miserable, and almost feel nostalgic. I think Sickboys' theory of life describes it best.
Certainly a phenomenon in all walks of life.
What do you mean?
Well, at one point you've got it, and then you lose it, and it's gone forever. All walks of life.
It's a pretty bleak look on life. Renton even asks him to make sure it's that depressing.
So, we all get old, we can't hack it anymore, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's your theory.
Yeah. Beautifully fucking illustrated.
But is she wrong? I don't think so. Sadly as it is, most elders I talk with will always tell me all and everything they've done, which almost always is 10, 20 or 30 years ago. Never now, but back in the day. Back when they had it. And then it's gone. Gone forever. And everywhere we go in Trainspotting 2, it's all we ever see. Everywhere around them reminiscing. The good old days, back when the crew were running like there's no tomorrow, back when they had it. And then like the money, it's gone. Gone forever. Sickboy even reels back on it, out in the great outdoors.
Look, well, here's an active memorial.
Nostalgia. That's why you're here. You're a tourist in your own youth. Just because you had a near-death experience and now you're feeling all fuzzy and warm.
Renton trying to do or pay his respect to an old maid. But Sickboy sees through him. It's not that. It's just nostalgia. Arriving back in town trying to relive the good old days. It's funny though, how Trainspotting 1 was an anti-drug movie. But now it's a nostalgia movie on the good days, the duality of Trainspotting. It's funny how the movie's message changes through time, or how that part of their life changed throughout time. Back then they wanted out, now they want back in. Change. It's a funny thing. I suppose Diane was right.
The world is changing. Music is changing. Drugs are changing. Even men and women are changing. 1,000 years from now, there'll be no guys and no girls, just wankers. Sounds great to me.
Trainspotting 2 explores pretty well the passage of time. Just in the introduction alone, I was quite surprised coming straight from Trainspotting 1. The 90s to now was like a shock, like, wow, that much happened in the world in a span of 20 freaking years. Showcased with Mark's first encounter with a Scot again.
Excuse me,
Yes,
where are you from?
Slovenia.
Or should I say Slovenian. Demolished buildings, scrapyards everywhere, broken promises from the past, VHS tapes of the old pub, the thriving days, now just an echo of the past. A hope of changing that into something new and great, much like the characters in the movie, or just ourselves in real life. The steady idea of changing ourselves into something great and new, instead of that part that feels broken in ourselves right now. I like the showcase of change because in many scenarios people make it out to be bad or have a tough time seeing the good in it. But the movie is good at showing all the great new stuff that has come with the time. Whether it's Begbie's shock at finding Viagra after 20 years in jail, or face filters on your phone, which for some freaking reason elders just find to be the most hilarious thing out. Or like mentioned earlier, turning the destroyed pub into
an artisanal bed and breakfast experience, a destination in its own right. Artworks by local artists on the walls, locally sourced fresh food, outreach programs to inspire children in school to think outside the box, to inspire in them a belief that, yes, they can. There was a time when this port served thousands of ships around the globe. Now it can rise again, and we believe our business will occupy a central role, both physically and emotionally, at the heart of this new wave of regeneration in Leith.
Leith 2.1.
Exactly.
While everything around us might change, and this is a personal take, so you might disagree, but I think the movie agrees with me or tries to show that people don't. And is probably in the end why it's needed for us all to die at some point. So we can get switched out with a newer being, born in the change, dialed in with a view we don't share or have.
The truth is that I'm a bad person, but that's going to change. I'm going to change.
The truth is, people don't change. Begbie is still as insane and a loose cannon as he were in the first. Sickboy is still the stylish hustler who got everything under control, yet not. Renton is still trying to figure it all out, and Spot is still, well, Spot. And Tommy is still dead. Sorry, that was uncalled for. But what I'm trying to say is, as bad as you might want to change or think people around you do, you or they will always fall back in their habits. Some are just worse than others. Begbie, as soon as he's out, he's back to stealing and robbing and just being a menace to society in general. Sickboy is also just scamming and hustling, and has changed his habit to what's deemed more socially acceptable or cool in these days. And when Renton and him get back together, they also start stealing again, just like they used to keep their addiction going. Spot never even got off it to begin with still being strung out on skeg. And Renton is still falling victim for temptations, and the best way they show us people don't change is with the relapse. As the old quote goes, once an addict, always an addict. Sometimes we think people might be different, but tag along with them long enough and you'll see no, not really. More specifically as in the start with Renton's arrival, everyone from the old gang referencing how he's looking good.
You're looking well though, Mark.
And got well off just to crush their thoughts of him turning his life around by telling them
I'm getting divorced.
he actually doesn't have any kids, and his wife just filed for a divorce. And On a more funny note, still falling for girls too young for him.
Still, world changes, agent. Even if we don't.
Be the change you wanna see. What do I mean by that? Well, let me explain to you. Once an addict, always an addict, right? So when Renton gets busted and starts rehabilitation surrounded by friends and family supporting him, I find it interesting when he says,
Here I was surrounded by my family and my so-called mates, and I've never felt so alone. Never on all my puff.
friends. The people that support him is also the people that enables him. Sometimes the only way to get out of a hole like this is get out of the friend circle who dug this hole to start with. Totally escape. Start a new life, and such he does. But it's funny how it goes. They always find a way to squeeze themselves back into your life.
And finally, Francis Begbie has been on television a lot this week, as he is wanted by the police in connection with an armed robbery in a jeweller's in Corstorphine. Take care. Yours with love, Diane. Francis Begbie.
And it's funny how quickly his now good-going life turns back on itself.
Oh no.
Armed robbery.
It starts with Begbie, suddenly Sickboys living with them, then Spot, a drug dealer's going down, and boom, heroin. Once an addict, always an addict. So in the end, Renton has to cut them out. Once and for all. And that means cutting them out on the deal as well. The hardest goodbye to do. But something you have to do in this scenario. Don't let your friends tie you to the tracks. Like Renton did to Tommy. Or his friends did to him. But what I find interesting is how the second movie expands on this idea, because it's just not that simple. You can't just abandon your friends, even if they're bad friends. Be the change you wanna see, as I started by saying. You see, as I also said earlier, they always find a way to squeeze themselves back into your life. So, a way to fix this is, instead of having abandoned bad friends that will now resent you, or when they come back in your life will turn out to still be bad for you and enable you, as we already have seen, change them. Change yourself, and then them. Be the change you wanna see. Like Spot told Mark.
I gave you £4,000!
What did you think I was gonna do with £4,000, Mark? I was a fucking junkie!
Leaving them like that did nothing. Even Spot, who he took pity on, he did nothing but make his life worse. Cause abandoning isn't helping. It isn't being a friend to your so-called friends.
And then you went back on the heroin?
My best friend. Actually, only friend who's never left us.
It's only when Renton starts taking him on runs, training with him, actually being a friend, is when Spot starts looking back and reminisce on the good old days. And it's only when Mark offers to help Sickboy that he forgives him.
So you're gonna help me? Find the money?
And they can start on rebuilding their friendship, create a bar that serves the community, and doesn't enable each other. And you know, it's not that I've gone through this like in the movie, but I at one point abandoned some of my friends, and God, they did not feel good. I always thought, like in the first movie, surround yourself with people you aspire to be, or however that quote goes. But the problem is, the guilt that's gonna weigh on your consciousness does actually feel like the deal. the backstab in the movie. Walking out on the deal with all the money is kind of a metaphor of how heavy this guilt is gonna be. And I felt so bad that I had to make up for it. Come back like Mark does in Trainspotting 2. And become the change you wanted to see. So, my message for this chapter and what I think the movie tries to convey is abandoning friends rather than helping is always worse. Except for those you can't fix.
Who the fuck are you? Yeah!
People like Begbie. Not that Mark doesn't try. The friend that gives you good protection but all are kinda afraid of. But Begbie was always a problem, probably from childhood. Probably because of his dad.
We went for a piss in the old Leith Central Station. Me, Renton, and Begbie. Place was empty, soon to be demolished. An old drunkard whom Begbie had been looking at, lurched up to his wine bottle in his hand.
What are you up to, lads, eh? Trainspotting. In Leith Central.
You see he's laughing. I noticed Begbie seemed strangely subdued and uncomfortable. It was only then I realised the old wino was Begbie's father.
Begbie never was an addict like the other guys. Him and Tommy.
He's telling you that no way would that poison my body with that shit. All these fucking chemicals. No fucking way.
It's a waste of your life, Mark. Poisoning your body with that shit.
Begbie because he'd probably seen what it does to people. His dad, more specifically. Sworn never to become like him. Even though he's an alcoholic himself, maybe rubbing off on Begbie to numb the memories or just because it's English tradition. Tommy because he's never had the need, giving him the superiority complex. But Renton points out later that there are as much addicts as he is, but just to socially acceptable substances, like beer or his mother's meds.
Television and one bottle of Valium, which I've already procured from my mother, who is, in her own domestic and socially acceptable way, also a drug addict.
The movie explores what it takes to create an addict. Begbie's son becomes the opposite of him, sworn to never be like Begbie, contrary to his dad's influence on him. Begbie is the result of family collision. Tommy, on the other hand, just needs a little push. In the start, he has a solid foundation and belief system, but all it takes is a breakup with his girlfriend and a few more collisions and boom, he's down an evil spiral. One that was easier to fall down because of the bad crowd of people he surrounded himself with, and eventually takes the darkest turn there is. But the maybe most common case of those who become drug addicts is Renton and Sickboy. They kinda resemble the young, free and wild spirit, the rebellious side to each teen, to disobey their parents and do something they're not supposed to.
How about this one? Warm day, sunny afternoon. Two young lads, and we clubbed together and bought our very first hit off Swanee. Our very first bag of heroin, do you remember that?
Yes.
Swanee's dead now, of course.
Be astonished if he wasn't.
We went down that park back of Banana Flats. Dog shit park.
Yeah.
And we shared a needle. Shared a needle, yeah. You went first. Your blood runs in my veins, Mark.
They did it for the fun of it. And as we see, Renton has a stable household. There should be no reason for him to do this, but it's sadly for some the teen spirit. You might think that heroin is crazy and not just a rebellious act if you're from this day and age, but you gotta understand that back when this movie was released, or more so the day and age it was supposed to resemble, doing heroin were as normal as every teen in the club snorting coke today. Stay away from that shit though. We're real men on this channel, not pussies. What I read from Renton and Sickboys' rebellious acts is a commentary on the rise of weak role models / father figures. In this scenario it manifested with heroin. Renton might not have had a bad childhood or parents, but he certainly didn't have a glamorous one either. Every time we see Renton with his parents, it's just the most depressing settings ever. His dad is not one to look up to either. They are all just sort of lost in life as much as he is. So of course he's gonna go out there and do some crazy stuff. If he had a family that were more worthy of looking up to, or teaching / demanding in rule sets or philosophies, he maybe wouldn't have. A way we know that they aren't is how they handle him after he's taken heroin and gotten busted. Not once, but twice.
Well, hope you learned your lesson, son.
Oh, my son, I thought I was going to lose you there. You're nothing but trouble to me, but I still love you.
I get for some parents it's kinda they've given up on their child, but that's still not how to raise a kid. I don't know shit about that though. I'm not a father, but my perspective. This shot is one of my favorite shots in Trainspotting, cause this one showcases perfectly the duality of this duology. The family sitting at the dinner table, passage through time, now imprinted the shadow of the mother, getting a glimpse into the past. Don't forget to appreciate your parents while they're around, cause suddenly they might not be. Many shots in this movie telling a story beneath the story. The second movie using some shots to reference the first story or movie. The second doesn't use cheap tricks or corny throwbacks to the first movie, other than a lot of if you know you know, and flashbacks mixing the old selves with their new. Some of the technology they have had access to in the second is just amazing. The way they mix old media with new and made the old version of them look young again, I have no idea how they did. I wonder if they shot some shots back then to use it in the second because it's spot on, but I doubt it. Not only that, but instead of still white fonts on the screen, now digitized credit card numbers on screen, face filters on security footage, mixed media, phone cameras, film, TV clips played on a driving car, movie references, the change in technology they've gotten through time and possibilities of new creative ideas that the first broke boundaries in, they do again. In the first, a huge amount of focus went in on lighting, Danny Boyle using color references.
This particular one is a very major Danny inspiration, which is one of his first inspirational pictures, which is not only gives a colour inspiration, but also gives a major filmic inspiration.
And speaking about how they wanted
to actually concentrate on the visual element of a film, because I think it's something in British films that we don't do that well sometimes. We tend to be, because we have a literary tradition, we tend to be word-based really, and you want but it's a visceral medium, and a huge part of that visceral element is picture.
Many shots are very beautifully shot cinematography wise, stepping this even more so up in the second. The duality in the colors, using complementary colors to each other, just beautiful. Having visuals painted on the walls with huge amounts of saturation. Should I say again, almost as if the shots are acid washed, as well as a good use of silhouettes and shadows. Soundtrack being the shadow of the time on the screen. Dance club music, showed through underworld or wild rock pop punk, and the Iggy Pop dress up being Renton's idol of the time, and therefore puts him on the trajectory towards the heroin chick aesthetic, which was very popular in the 90s fashion world, glamorizing the look of heroin addicts, their skinny fragile body that can contort in many ways with raggedy and extremely small fitting clothes, which was an important feature for this movie, to make the addicts look like none you had ever seen before.
Danny had strong opinions about not wanting people to look how you'd expect a heroin addict in Scotland to look.
One of the things I always remember him saying to me, there's a film called Christiana F. about a drug addict in Berlin, I think, which is very literal, and it was quite a brutal assessment of somebody on heroin. And he didn't want that to be the way that we convey Trainspotting.
It looks easy, this, but it's not.
The white skin and dark circles under their eyes, that's the persona Mark tries to persuade, and is what Diane sees straight through. She likes him for who he is, and is why she decides to take him home, and not for the role he tries to act. So, make sure the role you pick is one worth of admiration and not the tragic tale of Trainspotting or hero journey that movie is. I guess that really depends on how you look at the movies, which coincidentally also perfectly shows the duality of Trainspotting. And what a perfect note to end this video on. Thanks for watching, and remember to show love.